Have you ever watched other people make friends effortlessly while you stand there wondering what's wrong with you? You see them laughing, connecting, building relationships like it's the easiest thing in the world, and you can't help but think, why is this so hard for me? Here's what I need you to understand right now. You're not broken, you're not antisocial, and there's nothing fundamentally wrong with your personality. In fact, by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal 5 psychological reasons why making friends feels harder for you than others, and more importantly, I'm going to show you the one hidden trait that actually makes you more capable of deep, meaningful friendships than most people around you. And that last reason? It's something almost nobody talks about, but once you understand it, everything about your social life will finally make sense. So stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely change how you see yourself. Reason number 1, social hyper-awareness. Let's start with something you've probably experienced 1,000 times, but never had a name for: social hyper-awareness. When you're in a conversation, what's happening in your mind? You're not just talking, you're analyzing. You're thinking, did that sound weird? Was that too much? Did they understand what I meant? Should I have said it differently? While other people just talk, you're watching yourself talk. You're simultaneously the actor and the audience, and that creates an exhausting split in your attention. Psychology calls this elevated self-focus, and here's what makes it so challenging. When you're too much in your head, you can't be fully present. And real connection, it requires presence. It requires you to be there, in the moment, not trapped in the observation booth of your own mind. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to have a natural conversation while watching yourself in a mirror. Every word, every gesture, every expression is being scrutinized by you, the observer. That's what your brain is doing automatically, and it's exhausting. But here's what most people don't realize. This hyper-awareness isn't a flaw. It's actually a sign of high emotional intelligence. You're processing social information at a deeper level than most people. The problem is, nobody taught you how to turn down the volume on that internal observer. Reason number 2, invisible social fatigue. Now, let's talk about why socializing drains you more than it drains others. If you need time alone after being around people, if you avoid initiating conversations, if maintaining small talk feels like running a mental marathon, you're not weak. You're experiencing what I call invisible social fatigue. Your brain isn't just hearing words when someone talks to you, it's analyzing emotions, interpreting micro-expressions, evaluating intentions, reading the atmosphere, picking up on subtle energy shifts that most people completely miss. Every interaction consumes more cognitive energy for you because you're processing on multiple levels simultaneously. You're reading between the lines, sensing what isn't being said, and trying to navigate an incredibly complex social landscape that others move through on autopilot. And here's where it gets dangerous. The more exhausting socializing feels, the less you do it. And the less you do it, the more difficult it feels to start again. Not because you've lost the ability, but because your mind has created an association between socializing and depletion. It's like your brain is saying, last time we did this, it cost us so much energy. Let's avoid it. And so you do. Not because you don't want friends, but because the energy cost feels too high. Reason number 3, emotional depth, mismatch. Here's something most people aren't willing to accept about themselves, but I need you to hear this. Sometimes the problem isn't that you struggle to make friends, it's that you don't connect with most people, and that's a completely different thing. Psychology shows us that some people are wired for deep connections, not surface-level interactions. You don't enjoy empty conversations, relationships of convenience, or interactions without meaning. You need substance, you need authenticity, you need depth. The problem? Most friendships begin in the shallow end. They start with small talk, with shared activities, with gradual familiarity over time. And if you're someone who craves depth from the beginning, here's what happens. You feel disconnected, you get bored, you feel like you don't fit in. Not because there's something wrong with you, but because you're operating on a different emotional frequency. This is why you can go months without feeling a real connection. And then suddenly, boom, you meet one person and it's instant, intense, and meaningful. That's not random. That's you finally finding someone who matches your frequency. Most people are satisfied with 20 surface-level friendships. You need 2 or 3 profound ones. Neither approach is better. They're just different. But if you're trying to force yourself into the first category when you naturally belong to the second, you're going to feel perpetually out of place. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. If what I'm saying is resonating with you, if you're finally feeling understood in a way you haven't before, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to helping you understand your mind, your behavior, and why you are the way you are. And if this video is giving you that finally someone gets it feeling, there's so much more where this came from. Also, leave a like on this video. It helps more people who need to hear this message find it. And if you want, drop a comment below telling me which of these reasons hit closest to home for you. I read every single comment, and your insights help shape future videos. All right, now let's get to the deeper stuff, the reasons that most psychology channels won't tell you about. Reason number 4, past experiences and invisible defenses. We're entering sensitive territory now, so I need you to really pay attention to this one. Many people who struggle to make friends today were rejected in the past. Maybe you were excluded. Maybe you were judged. Maybe you learned, somewhere along the way, that showing your true self was dangerous, and your brain learns fast. It created a defense mechanism. If I don't get close, I can't get hurt. And even though consciously you want friends, your emotional system is putting on the brakes. It's protecting you from a pain it remembers, even if you don't consciously think about it anymore. This manifests in ways you might not even recognize. Emotional distance. You keep people at arm's length without realizing it. Apparent coldness. Others might perceive you as aloof or uninterested defensive humor. You joke to avoid vulnerability. Excessive self-sufficiency. You've convinced yourself you don't need anyone. From the outside, people interpret this as disinterest. They think you don't want to be friends. But the truth is, you want connection desperately. You're just terrified of what happened last time you tried. Here's what you need to understand. That defense mechanism served you once. It protected you when you needed protection. But now it might be keeping out the very people who would never hurt you. The question isn't, how do I make friends? The question is, what am I unconsciously doing to keep people away, and why? And that brings us to the final reason, the one that ties everything together and explains why so many intelligent, sensitive people feel alone. Reason number 5, authenticity versus acceptance. This is the one nobody wants to admit, but it's the most important. People who struggle to make friends often value authenticity over acceptance. You don't know how to fake it. You can't force enthusiasm. You don't feel. You can't pretend to care about things that bore you. And you absolutely cannot make yourself fit in just for the sake of fitting in. And while that's a strength, while that's integrity, while that's self-respect, it comes with a social cost. Social psychology is very clear about this. Belonging often requires adaptation. Groups have norms, unwritten rules, shared interests, and common behaviors. And to be accepted into a group, you typically have to adapt to those things, at least partially. But you? Deep down, you don't want to adapt to something you're not. You'd rather be alone than surrounded by people with whom you can't be yourself. And that's not a defect. It's an unconscious choice of internal coherence. It's your psyche saying, I will not betray myself for acceptance. This is why you might have acquaintances but few real friends. This is why you can be in a room full of people and still feel completely alone. This is why you've probably turned down invitations or let friendships fade because they required you to be someone you're not. But here's the paradox. The very trait that makes it harder to make friends is the trait that makes your friendships, when you do make them, incredibly powerful. Because when you finally meet someone who accepts the real you, the unfiltered, authentic, sometimes messy, always genuine you, that friendship is unshakable. It's built on truth, not performance, on connection, not convenience. The real truth about you. So let me tell you what all of this actually means. If making friends is hard for you, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're socially defective. It doesn't mean there's something fundamentally wrong with you. It means you process more deeply than most people. You feel more intensely than most people. You think more critically than most people. You require real connection, not just social proximity. And in a world that often values quantity over quality, speed over depth, and performance over authenticity, that's going to make you feel like an outsider. But here's what I need you to understand. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to understand yourself. The key isn't forcing yourself to be more social. The key isn't pretending to enjoy shallow interactions. The key isn't changing who you are to fit a mold that was never designed for you. The key is this: When you stop trying to fit in, you start attracting people who resonate with who you actually are. And those friendships, though they may be few, will be deep, stable, and real. Think quality over quantity. Think depth over breadth. Think genuine over convenient. Maybe you don't need more friends. Maybe you just need the right ones. And when you find them, when you find those rare people who match your frequency, who appreciate your depth, who value your authenticity, you'll realize that all those years of feeling different weren't a curse. They were a filter. They were protecting you from wasting your time on connections that would never satisfy you anyway. So if you've watched this far, I want you to know something. You're not alone in this. There are thousands, maybe millions of people who feel exactly what you feel, who have asked themselves the same questions, who have wondered if something is wrong with them for not being able to make friends as easily as everyone else seems to. And the answer is no. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just wired differently, and that's not a weakness. It's a different kind of strength. But understanding this, really understanding how you work, why you feel what you feel, why you've struggled where others haven't, that changes everything. Because once you understand yourself, you stop fighting yourself. You stop trying to be someone you're not, and you start creating a life that actually fits who you are, instead of trying to fit yourself into a life that was designed for someone else. If that's something you want more of, if you want to keep understanding your mind, your behavior, your relationships, and yourself at a deeper level, then subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Because self-knowledge, that's the beginning of everything. That's where real change starts. And leave me a comment, tell me, did this video help you see yourself differently? Which reason resonated most? What's your experience been with making friends? I read every comment, and your stories matter. They help other people feel less alone, and they help me create content that actually serves you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And remember, knowing yourself changes everything. I'll see you in the next video.